704. People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos is brought to you by BunnySlippers.com and FoundItemClothing.com. Do you live in the Southern Hemisphere? Do you like Cthulhu? Do you like novelty slippers? Well, BunnySlippers.com has you covered. Want to wear a t-shirt like they wore in the Bad News Bears? I'm wearing one right now. It says Chico's Bail Bonds. It's yellow and white. Really cool. I like it. I also have some cool shirts from Revenge of the Nerds, like Greasy Tony's and, yes. Also, yes, they have all kinds of cool shirts. You like shirts from Wet Hot American Summer? They got those. You like the shirts that Styles wore in Teen Wolf? They got those. Did you want just a shirt that has, like, cool stuff from, like, Aliens? They got those. They got all kinds of stuff. So check out FoundItemClothing.com. And they also got a cool website called FoundItemClothing.com. But a cool blog, I think it's like Turned Up to 11 or some sort of Spinal Tap reference. Oh, do you like the shirt from Spinal Tap? They've got those! FoundItemClothing.com. And also check out another sponsored by FoundItemClothing.com podcast, Cult Film Club. It's really cool. I like it a lot. It's about cult film, and it's a club. And it's cool. All right. People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. 704? Series 7. Episode 4. Written and edited by Daniel Spitzer. Audio by Seraphi and Daniel Spitzer. Music by Kevin MacLeod. PGTTCM is part of the Dark Myths Collective. We are engaged in an ongoing discussion of the Cthulhu mythos and its timeline regarding Earth. To be part of it, contact us at pgttcm@gmail.com or join us on Facebook or the Twitter. Just search PGTTCM. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe to PGTTCM on iTunes and Stitcher or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I recommend podbean.com because then I know specifically that you think we're cool. All right, People's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos. Oh, I already read that part. Greetings, listeners. It is we, DB Spitzer and Seraphi, here to talk to you once again about the Cthulhu mythos. Its books, its monsters, its unfortunate human casualties, its timeline in general, and even its tangential bits, like the Dreamlands, or things of a weird nature, or things that are Lovecraftian leaning. Once again, we head into those dark woods, further feeling those malevolent forces upon us. Once again, we walk down the lightless stone staircase in the middle of nowhere. Check out the show's merch table at pgttcm.threadless.com. You can find lots of cool shirts and mugs and stuff there. All designs by DB Spitzer. Currently, there's only one design, the logo, but there will be more in the future. The future. Yeah, so this week, let me get over to this side.
Yeah, come over to the microphone where all the cool people are.
So this week we're talking about...
We're talking about the Gardner family.
Yeah, we're talking about the color out of space and the people who are mostly affected by that meteorite that fell outside of Clark's Corner in 1882, I think.
That's what it says on my screen.
Totally. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were just a regular, I guess, Puritan-ish?
No, just farmers.
Okay, like farmer family. But like the guy who's narrating the story says that nobody lived near them anyway. Like they were already isolated before the meteor fell and made that piece of the country like uninhabitable.
Well, it is kind of the wilds of Massachusetts, where the hills run wild, or rise wild, I believe is what they say.
The wilds of Massachusetts.
Yeah, no, it's the wild outlands of Massachusetts. Yes. Well, no, so we have, like, just a family who's, like, you know, I don't get the feeling that they're, like, isolating themselves from the outside world. They just live in a small area called Clark's Corner that's just kind of, like, not a suburb, but just a rural area outside of Arkham, Massachusetts.
Right.
Which is a small town outside of Boston.
Right.
So we're just talking about, like, the small hamlet outside of the town, outside of the city.
Yes.
Not isolation, but, you know.
Right. I mean, they're close enough that some university professors come out to their land
Yeah.
when a piece of flotsam from space lands in their land.
Is it Spacem, then?
Spacem. What? Wait, what do we mean?
Jetsam?
Flotsam?
Yeah, jetsam. Flotsam is water. Jetsam is air.
Really?
Yeah, I'd
I
march
had
all
no
over
idea.
again.
I didn't know that. I always thought it was Jetsam because of the Jetsons.
No.
Showing my one piece of ignorance.
Yeah, no. You correct my English enough that yeah.
That you don't mind correcting my Latin?
Yeah, no, weird bits I know of things. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway.
Maybe it would be Ethereum.
Ethereum?
Because that's what the Latin people called, like, space. They called it the ethereal.
Yeah.
Etheria.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Space junk, that's what I call it.
Listen, let's talk about the Gardner family. Skylab. Okay.
The Gardner family.
Yeah, we are.
In June 1882, a meteor fell on the land of the Gardner family of Clark's Corner, Massachusetts. A piece of it was retrieved by 3 scientists from Miskatonic University in nearby Arkham, Mass. The scientists, the Gardner family friend Army Pierce, all report a strange, unnameable color about the meteorite. The meteorite slowly shrank and disappeared over a week.
Conjecture was vain, so after a futile attempt to find additional globules by drilling, the seekers left again with their new specimen, which proved, however, as baffling in the laboratory as its predecessor had been. Aside from being almost plastic, having heat, magnetism, and slight luminosity, cooling slightly in powerful acids, processing an unknown spectrum, wasting away in air and attacking silicone compounds with mutual destruction as a result. It presented no identifying features whatsoever, and at the end of the test, the college scientists were forced to own that they could not place it. It was nothing of this earth, but a piece of the great outside, and as such dowered with outside properties and obedient to outside laws.
July, September 1882. For a short time, Noam Gardner was a local celebrity and was even interviewed by the Boston Globe. The harvest season came early due to a hot summer. The Gardners had very large, wonderful fruit that was unfortunately had a stealthy bitterness and a sickishness that lingered. Noam blamed the meteorite for poisoning the soil and the well. Winter, 1883. Locals report strange anomalies in the tracks of rabbits, fox, and various other woodland creatures found in the snow. In February, the McGregor boys shoot a woodchuck with odd dimensions and a queer expression not seen on a woodchuck prior. The locals also report the snow melting faster around Gardner's land. The Gardner farm reports abnormally large skunk cabbages of a monstrous shape, reported to be of a nameless color like the meteorite. Horses are reported to be upset by the vegetation. The trees also budded early and swayed in a windless breeze. The buds were oversized and grotesque and of a strange color, and the saxifrages and the morning cloak butterflies as well. The Gardner family begins reporting a strange, indescribable sounds. Noam takes the bud samples to a local paper and is met with ridicule. April 1883. The locals begin to avoid the Gardner farm. The orchards begin to bear fruit much like the saxifrages and the fruit the year prior, yet even less wholesome and more loathsome.
No sane, wholesome colors were anywhere to be seen except in the green grass and leafage, but everywhere those hectic, prismatic variants of some diseased, underlying, primary tone without a place among the known tints of earth. The Dutchman's breeches became a thing of sinister menace, and the blood roots grew insolent in their chromatic perversion.
May 1883. The Gardner family begins to become more paranoid. The locals continue to shun the Gardners. A swarm of large grotesque insects devour the crops, and the 100-acre lot is then plowed and sowed. The family hopes the turning of the land will make the better harvest next year, and strange fruit poured up from all the poison of the soil. A windmill salesman reports a faint luminosity of the Gardner farm at night. The cow's milk goes bad quickly. Narcissa Gardner begins to report things that aren't there. 5 family cats run away. Delicate plants begin to turn gray and brittle. June 1883. Narcissa begins to scream about things that she can't describe. She wanders the Gardner home instead of going to Danvers. July 1883. Narcissa no longer speaks. She walks on 4 and glows slightly. The horses go strange and need to be shot after running away several times. September 1883. All the vegetation has turned brittle and gray. Thaddeus Gardner is placed in the attic with his mother as he begins to act like her. The hogs grow extremely fat and glow. After that, the hogs become loathsome in ways that cannot be described. After that, the cows, not to mention the remaining stock and poultry. The family dogs run away around this time. All the remaining animals begin to display brittle gray skin. Atrocious collapses and disintegrations become commonplace on the farm. Livestock never fed vegetation from the Gardner farm. No vet will visit. October 19, 1883. Thaddeus Gardner dies. His brother Xenius is reported to be insane. October 22, 1883. Norm's youngest son, Erwin Gardner, goes missing. Army Pierce finds a melted bucket near the well. November 5th, 1883. Army Pierce finds Norm Gardner to be weak and quite paranoid. Army sees Narcissa Granger disintegrate before his eyes. Learned that Xenia Granger now lives in the well from Norm. Army contacts the local authorities regarding the death of the whole Gardner family. Authorities find the remains of a dog and a deer in the bottom of the well, also small bones and the remains of Xenius and Erwin. An unknown flare of light of an unknown color bursts from the well into the sky. Scientists and doctors have no explanation. Sometime later, all vegetation dies. The ground turns gray, and the gray slowly grows. Many folk try to homestead the land, but fail. Locals name it Blasted Heath. 1927. Arkham, Mass. uses the abandoned land near Clark's Corner for a reservoir.
Ami would never go near the place again. It is 44 years now since the horror happened, but he has never been there and will be glad when the new reservoir blots it out. I shall be glad too, for I do not like the way the sunlight changes color around the mouth of that abandoned well I passed. I hope the water will always be very deep, but even so, I shall never drink it. I do not think I shall visit the Arkham County hereafter. 3 of the men who had been with Ami returned the next morning to see the ruins by daylight, but there were not any real ruins, only the bricks of the chimney, the stones of the cellar, some mineral and metallic litter here and there, and the rim of the nefarious well. Save for Ami's dead horse, which they towed away and buried, and the buggy which they shortly returned to him, everything that had ever been living had gone. 5 eldritch acres of dusty gray desert remained, nor has anything ever grown there since. To this day, it sprawls open to the sky like a great spot eaten by acid in the woods and fields, and the few who have ever dared to glimpse it in spite of the rural tales have named it the Blasted Heath.
Okay.
Up next, Tales of the Talking Board by Word Horde Press.
It says Weird Book number 37.
Yeah, I know that was accidentally from last
All right. End banter. Do you want me to read the end bit?
We'll do that after end banter, because I wanted to do that, and then,
cut it off and use it again and again?
Oh, no. Just start doing this at the end, like, as the credits, just like,
Oh,
same thing that's said
in the beginning. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
All right, end banter. Let me take my headphones off and walk back over here.
okay.
All right, end banter.
So, end banter.
Yeah, so, what did you want to talk about?
Oh, well, so the thing I was trying to say is that when we were reading The Color Out of Space in preparation for this episode, it really struck me that the first person in this family of 5 people, which are 4 men and a woman, the woman doesn't have a name, but as each man in the family is introduced, or boy, they gain a name.
Yes.
But she never gets a name.
No.
Which is why we've named her Narcissa in, like, post stuff.
Yeah.
But she also is the first one to, quote, go sick.
Yes.
And start displaying, like, mental grossness.
Not the small child.
No, not the small child, who is probably more likely. But the woman.
Yeah.
And also, like, she just goes insane, like, really fast.
Maybe she was the one who gathered the water the most.
It's possible.
And had more exposure to the meteorite, the orb, the globule living in the bottom of the well.
And I mean, the way a lot of farms like that are done is that they have crops out in the field, but they also have like a garden near the house, which would be watered from the well.
Yeah.
So it's possible that she just had more exposure.
Yeah.
That's true. But my guess is it has to do with H.P. Lovecraft's innate misogyny and assumption that women are always one step away, even closer than artists, to being crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that dude.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about other aspects of this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like there is now some precedent for Augie Dog Derleth writing in whichever it was it the Lurking Horror? I can't remember which one it was that had the Mother and Abomination locked in the.
Oh yeah, that was the Mill one.
Yeah.
That was called the.
And I can't remember which Augie Dog Derleth story that is, because it honestly doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it is just kind of like, I mean, it's like if we're going to say Augie Dog Derleth was pretty good at cutting and pasting Lovecraft stories together, I get where he cut it and pasted that particular part. That's, yeah. So, Color Out of Space. I mean, it's a little problematic.
Yeah, and so like I was saying, like the idea that there's something outside of physics that would be able to interact with our world in any way is kind of interesting. I read a science fiction book once where this traveling ship came and visited a planet, and it's supposed to be like sort of our world.
Yeah.
But it was multidimensional. Like people traveled on that ship from multi-dimensions, but every time they went to a new dimension, they would, like invite people to come with them. But those people would have to bring their entire biome with them. So they couldn't eat the food of the place that they were from, or the place where they were going. Okay. So they had to bring an entire, like, farm supply food with them. Like not just like long-term rations, but like a way to grow them and insects and plant life and whatnot. So imagine trying to bring an entire like closed system with you, and also there was no way for the ship to go backwards. It would only go forwards dimensionally. It's a pretty interesting story. I wish I could remember the name of it. I think I read it in the Science Fiction and Fantasy magazine. It's where most of those stories that I remember the main plot points or something, but I don't remember.
Oh yeah, no, I have
the name of it.
Tons of like 75 science fiction stories, or classic science fiction and horror literature. Just books like that just have like, it's like, oh, where do I have a copy of that Rudyard Kipling story about the guy who defaces the shrine and then becomes a beast, the Mark of the Beast. It's like, oh, I know I have that in
somewhere.
Yeah. And it's like, whoa, what about the O. Henry story about elephants? It's like, okay, yeah, I know where I got that. My library is kind of crazy sometimes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I don't know what to say about the Gardner family. I mean, it just seems like they're a bunch of innocent victims.
Yeah, they are a bunch of innocent victims. They're innocent victims of an invader from outside.
Right. And, like, I know that, like, Ami Pierce is, like, happy to have the water over it and like that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't think that water seals anything.
No.
it's like the surveyor, the narrator says, like, he's not going to drink the water of Arkham, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because water is a universal solvent. Everything gets into water. Which is gross to think about.
Yep. And here is something that I did want to talk about that we didn't really talk about in the story so much, is the fact that there's a lot of talk about rustics in this particular story. And
about
H.P.
how
Lovecraft talking about, like, rustics being simple and, like...
Right. Well, and, like, there's this thing the surveyor says about how Ami Pierce is better educated and more aware than he expected. Yeah, I mean, so, like, the narrator in the story is a surveyor.
Yeah.
A, quote, man of science, if you will. Somebody who's versed in mathematics.
Sure.
And so, a reasoner.
Yes.
You know, and, like, that's pretty interesting that HP would choose that to be the narrator.
Yeah, normally it's some sort of antiquarian, some sort of friend of someone who's a little bit on the outside. But or it's like a college professor who's learned unknowable secrets.
Yeah.
But no, just to have some guy who's like, I'm surveying this place, and a bunch of fucked up shit happened here 44 years ago.
Yeah.
You're not gonna believe it. I'm not drinking this water.
Right.
I'm not even coming anywhere near this place.
Right. It's a really interesting thing. It's like he starts by saying, look, I gave him my post. I walked through this place. I found out about it, and now I've given up my post, and I'm back in Boston, where it's safe to talk about this. It's like, is it safe to talk about it all the way over there? I mean, once you put it in the water, it's not getting out.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, we don't have any stories about Arkham after. I mean, we don't have any, like, really big stories about Arkham after the reservoir goes in.
Really?
So we don't really know whatever happens with the reservoir, according to H.P. Lovecraft, if it has any ill effects on the residents of Arkham. But in the Chaosium...
Man, wait, hold on. That would be such an awesome, like, modern Lovecraftian tale. Like, if somebody wanted to tell about Arkham now, a story of people who were like, don't drink bottled water anymore because it's bad for the environment, and then they start drinking the city water again, and then people start turning ashy and crazy and glowing in the dark.
Let no one be found among you who sacrifices his son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or is a medium or spiritualist who consults with the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Deuteronomy 18:10-12. Ages 8 to adult. Ouija board packaging, 1972. Welcome to the review of Tales from the Talking Board by Wordhorde, edited by Ross E. Lockhart. Can we speak with the spirits of the dead? Is it possible to know the future? Are our dreams harbingers of things to come? Do auspicious omens and cautionary portents affect our lives? Edited by Ross E. Lockhart, Tales from the Talking Board examines these questions and more, with tales of auguries, divination, and fortune-telling through devices like Ouija boards, tarot cards, and stranger things. So dim the lights, place your hands upon the planchette, and ask the spirits to guide you as we present 14 stories of strange and supernatural by Matthew M. Bartlett, Nathan Carson, Orrin Gray, David James Keaton, J.M. McDermott, Amber Rose Reed, David Templeton, Nadia Bulkin, Christy DeMeester, Scott R. Jones, Anya Martin, S.P. Niskowski, Tiffany Scandal, and the wonderful Wendy N. Wagner. You know,
I recognize some of these names from books I have read, collections I have spoken of before, whether it be from Weird Book, various Weird Books. Scott R. Jones, the head of Martian Migraine Press. Oren Gray, Facebook friend. Various people who I remember from the song of, Casilda's song from Chaosium, edited by Joe the Man Pulver Sr. So yeah, you are not going to find a bad story in this, let me read some of the titles to you. A Brief History of Talking Boards. This is a really good, fun one by Rossi Lockhart. He pretty much lays it down to you what they are and where they came about and myths and mythologies roughly relating to that. I've heard him talk about this in person. And we have Yes, No, Goodbye by Christy DeMeester, The Devil and the Bugle Boys by J.M. McDermott, Anya Martin wrote Ouija, Tell Me Do, Nathan Carlson wrote When the Evil Days Come Not, Tiffany Scandal, Grief, David James Keaton, Spin the Throttle, S.P. Muskowski, Pins, Matthew M. Bartlett, Deep into the Skin, Wendy N. Wagner, The Burnt Sugar Stench, Scott R. Jones, Worse Than Demons, Amber Rose Reed, The Empress and the Three of Swords, David Templeton, Questions and Answers, Oren Gray, Horoscate or Scry, and Nadia Bulkin with May You Live in Interesting Times. Nadia Bulkin, I believe she also wrote, She Said Destroy, which is on the docket for later this season for review, as is, I believe, some Scott R. Jones. I'm going to be reading Resonator for when I get to anyone related to the Tillinghasts. Those of you who are Lovecraft savvy know who this is, and who changed their name to protect their family at some point in time. All right, so check out Tales from the Talking Board, a wonderful, wonderful book by the folks at Word Horde, and those related to the folks at Word Horde. I am currently looking up a price listing for this, but I don't see one, so I'll Google it really quick after knocking everything off my damn desk. Okay, Tales from the Talking Board. Oh, I have all kinds of crap on my desk. Do-do-do. Tales from the Talking Board is available on Amazon for $15.99 and the Kindle for $5.99. So definitely worth the buy, definitely worth checking out. And the cover can also be used as a talking board as it is laid out in that style. All right, Tales from the Talking Board. I would give it, 20 out of 20 planchettes. Or 50 out of 50 planchette-shaped donuts, which I run across all the time.
Still recording?
I don't remember quite what the effects were on the citizens of Arkham, but there was actual long-term effects on Arkham citizens for drinking the water, because it was I guess it's something about it is so diluted, but still there. I guess it would be almost like what do you call that stuff where it's like
Oh, you mean homeopathy?
Homeopathy, thank you. I was like, what's that bullshit thing where you dilute something so much that it's like
there.
Just got the spirit of it in the water?
The memory, the water has the memory of the thing. Yeah.
Yes. That's why we record media on water.
Record what?
Media on water.
Right? Real memory. Water does. Oh man, speaking of which, we should see The Shape of Water.
Okay. Also, we should remind our listeners to check out pgttcm.com.
Yeah, please do.
And I don't know, maybe at this point in time we'll know more about me being or the podcast being nominated for.
Oh yeah, we could put a little thing in here.
REH Foundation Award.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we'll know more about that by then. And yeah.
It's exciting.
Yes. But most importantly, I just want to remind people to stay squiggly and keep it weird.
War in the Central Core.
Peace, release now.
It goes like this.
We don't need to do that anymore.
No, just keep it squiggly.
Yeah.